is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. Dean 78904 if you want to get all technical. It is 4:45 on the East Coast, 4:45. This is why you turn on notifications. Grinders Live starting up early. We got to appease the FanDuel slate. We got to appease the DK slate. Small slates tonight. 6-gamer on FanDuel, 4-gamer on DK. FanDuel did include the 2 early games. That's why we're jumping on early. Crunch time will take you all straight up to lock as far as FanDuel. They might stay on beyond. I'm not really sure, but at least till 6:20. We got to get the Marlins in. We got to talk about the Marlins. Got to talk about the Phillies. They started 6:20. FanDuel also included the Rangers at Baltimore. Burns versus John Gray. Of course, the DK slate does not start until precisely 7:07. I think that's because of the Canadian national anthem there in Toronto. Berea taking on the Yankees. Carlos Rodon joining me today. And Chopper, 2-time millionaire winner. Keith Eister as well. Chop, how's Thursday working out for you? Things all right?
Yeah, Dean. Just if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and update you on the draft as things roll in. And the NBA draft is going on right now as we speak, and I can't complain, man. Everything's rolling good, Dean. So my Astros are on a winning streak. Got back to 500. Rockets looking like a solid team. If the Cowboys fail, it's okay. I can just claim the Houston Texans. So I'm good, man. Life is good, really, man.
Anything interesting happened in the draft today? I've not followed. Has Bronny been taken yet? When or has it just fired up? I don't even know.
It just started. I would say nothing interesting, no. But let's see. Johnny Furphy goes to the Spurs, so that's interesting. In that the Spurs are like I can't believe the Spurs traded their second pick last night. Like, this guy Wemby is ready. Like, you can build a championship team right now. I don't know why you're waiting 7 years down the road for another pick. Take a good player right now. But so they got a pretty decent player right there with some upside, and that's all that's going on. Really, nothing big right now.
And the big Wemby question is and you tell me, Keith, feel free. When was the last time a major, big time free agent went to San Antonio? I think the answer is never. I don't think it's ever happened. Maybe Wemby is enough to attract somebody to go there. But that is weird that they're dumping their picks. I mean, I don't know are they accumulating stuff? What they get for the second pick overall? I don't even know this. Chop.
What was the question? What did the Spurs get?
Yeah, you said they got rid of their second pick.
What they had 2. They had 4 and 8. They used 4 on a really good player. I like that. But the number 8 pick, that is could be a player that could help you immediately, or at least in the next year or two. And they traded it away to Minnesota. And what they recouped, Dean, was 2031, 2030 draft picks. It doesn't make what are you gonna?
What is that?
What are you gonna do? And there's still Anthony Edwards is still gonna be around making the playoffs, so it's not like it's gonna be a lottery pick. Yeah, I don't get that one because you had the number 8 pick. You had some really good players right there that you could have helped Wemby with right now. Their first pick was awesome. And the whole league is extremely lucky that right before they picked with the number 7 pick, Portland snatched Donovan Clingan. Because if you put Clingan with Wemby and Steven Castle, nobody would score on the Spurs for the next 7 years. So, and then they traded away number 8, man. It was just so weird. But no, they didn't recoup nothing but 2 picks 7 years from now.
Yeah, New York's supposed to be a good defensive team as well with what they're building for the next keep it OG. It should be interesting going forward as well. In the chat, they're saying Aldridge. LMA was not. I'm talking about a top flight. Come on, he was fine, sure, in his day, but I don't think that qualifies. Feel free to correct me. Hey, Keith, your Bulls finally made a trade. They have made a trade since 1972, and I thought it was weird they didn't ask for any picks from the Thunder because the Thunder have 97 picks. It's what? Just give me a couple of those picks too. I've heard various opinions on the Giddey for Caruso trade. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it was nice to see them finally make a trade. They appear to finally be blowing it up. I can't foresee DeRozan coming back. If they can get rid of Levine, they will. It seems like the rebuild is finally full on. It's about 4 years too late that we've been saying they should tear this thing down. They should not have re-signed Vucevic. I don't know what the Bulls front office has been doing. They did get a nice break. The guy from Lithuania, I believe it was, fell into their lap kind of. He was projected to be a top 5 or 6 pick and fell to the Bulls at wherever they were picking. So they got a nice break there. It looks like there's a full-on youth movement coming in Chicago. I don't really have strong feelings either way on Josh Giddey. I would have preferred a different return, like future draft picks, over a young player like Josh Giddey. That's just my take. Like, I don't think Giddey's going to be a special player or anything that can lead a team. So I would rather take my chances in the draft in future seasons than see him acquire a player like that. But at least the youth movement is on, and we don't have to struggle with mediocrity for the next 5 years, whatever.
Yeah, still just 21. He's a good stat stuffer, and I guess he can get better. I'm not really sure. I mean, OKC was pretty clearly out on him, though. Like, he didn't really fit in that team. So if not Chicago, they would have moved him somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he can definitely utilize his skills much better in Chicago. Like with SGA and OKC and the things that Jalen Williams was doing for that team, like he just couldn't have the ball in his hands enough. So he will get that opportunity in Chicago. Maybe he surprises some people.
I think he's going to be a really good fantasy player, which is what we care about. I think he's really good in fantasy for Chicago, and I'm not sure how much he helps them win. But all right, DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports, that's what it stands for. We're talking about today and today only. Again, we're on a little bit early because of the we dropping good job, Steve. I was just going to say it is a Fleet Thursday. You guys can play along as well in our little private chat. If you can guess it on the first clue, congratulations. You probably can't, but we do want to reward those that showed up early, showed up on time. Typically, they jump in here at 5 o'clock, but let's get them a clue. Hoops is the clue. Tell me who we're talking about. What athlete are we talking about? Where do you respond to that? In the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Jump in the live stream chat channel. You tell me what athlete we're talking about. You get one guess per clue. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Do you have a guess, Chop? Do you think we know? You think you know who it is? You honing in on who this might be? Who is this athlete?
Well, what's the clue?
Hoops. It's scrolling on the bottom. Hoops.
You're really going to give somebody an opportunity to make it live on the show again?
Hoops?
You're right. TJ got it in one.
It's a player? What?
The clue is hoops. That's all I got for you. Hoops.
It's a basketball player. That's all he's saying.
That's a pretty vague
You're not
clue.
necessarily saying basketball. I'm just saying hoops. But maybe you conduct, deductive reasoning.
Yeah, that's pretty vague. I'm going to save my guess. Let me think about it.
No, you get one per. It's not like rollover minutes. You only get one per round. So if you use it or lose it is the deal. I see people guessing in the YouTube chat. Even if you got it correct, it would not count. It is not Shaquille O'Neal, and it's not Jesus Shuttleworth, Ray Allen. But good guesses. Sure, you're on the right track for sure.
Paul Pierce.
It is not Paul Pierce. It'd be amazing if you nailed it, though. And I wouldn't tell you if you did, but it's not Paul Pierce. We'll probably say Paul Pierce for a Bobby show. He would appreciate that, I would imagine. All right. 6 games, plenty of time. Crunch time coming in about 50 minutes or so. You get Kristi, you get Roth, you get Will as well. Steve, let me know. Do we have a Will video today? I don't know if we communicated that. If you did, my apologies. I missed it. But I just want to know if I should set one up. Feel free to let me know in the chat. So I'm not sure if he's doing one of his Boom Fantasy videos today or not. But we're going to be playing later on in the show. 4-gamer. Was it Chop? I think you wrote the expert survey along with myself. I saw you partook. Tough slate to write about. Very, very clear. Super, super obvious starting pitcher. Jack Flaherty, I think it's 65% ownership on DK. A little bit chopped up on FanDuel because you only roster one. And there's some actually good arms that are throwing earlier. Zach Wheeler and Corbin Burns. Give me the assessment here, Chop. How are you seeing the slate, from an overview perspective?
Well, then I need to correct myself real fast. Apparently, the Spurs traded Furphy. So they're not drafting anybody. They traded him to the Pacers. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't care because I'm not a Spurs fan, but
well, you want to go to the arena, right? And don't you go by yourself? You don't take the family?
I'll take my wife. I'm not going by myself. I'll take the wife. I prefer not to take the kids. That starts to add up to the bill a little bit. I don't want to, you got to keep it under control.
Understood.
Yeah. I don't know. So what was the question? What was about the pitching? I don't know. Let me see here. First time I looked at it today.
Well, no, you wrote about it earlier in the day. You definitely looked at it earlier.
I definitely didn't look at FanDuel, though. Oh, look, FanDuel's got 2 extra pitchers that are awesome. And actually,
sure.
maybe the top two if you depending on how you feel about Flaherty. So FanDuel is definitely the way you get your pitching in. DraftKings pitching is just it's rough, man. Like, they got one elite guy, I think, Flaherty, and then a whole bunch of solid pitchers, not great, but you could stack against them, and it's a really weird thing going on. But I think I think Flaherty on DraftKings becomes a lock, and then whatever you want to do with SP2 is fine. On FanDuel, you only have room for one pitcher, so it's got to be one of those top three guys, Burns, Wheeler, or Flaherty. So I think pitching is pretty easy today.
Yeah, on FanDuel, we're getting 33% ownership to Wheeler taking on the Marlins, Flaherty a little bit more than Wheeler, 25% taking on the Angels, 10% to Burns, and everybody else is like in the single digits. By the way, we did just get the Reds lineup officially. He's back. We never really saw him, but he is back. We got Noelvi is in the lineup today for the Reds. Noelvi Marte is batting, looks like sixth or so. Of course, he was hit with I think it was a PEDs. He was hit with an 80-game suspension, give or take. Is that what it was? I think 80 days. This is his first game of the season. First game in his career, I think, right? I don't think he played last season. Keith, do you know this? I'm pretty sure he didn't play last season.
I think he did play a little bit last season.
Did I just forget? Maybe I forgot. My bad. So, but he's back this year. We'll see him this year for the first time. India, De La Cruz, Steer, Stevenson, Martini, Marte, Espinal, Benson, Fairchild. They definitely can use him because that Cincinnati offense, it sputters off pretty quickly. And I think it's like 3.7 or so on DK, which is a pretty fair price.
123 plate appearances last season, Dean. He was very good in those 123 plate appearances.
I just completely forgot. What did he do? What did he do in 123 plate appearances? Remind me now, because I can't believe I forgot the whole. Yeah.
Slash line was 316, 366, 456. Good for a 120 WRC plus, a 357 WOBA. So a very strong 123 plate appearanrances. Now that could have been aided by some substances, but yeah, we'll leave that discussion for another day. At bats,
just forgetting.
Yeah, 114 at bats.
All right. Well, just completely whiffed on that. What do you got, Keith, as far as your overview? Especially on DK, we're going to mostly focus on DK, but we do want to acknowledge there's a slate on FanDuel as well. If you guys are in chat and you have like a FanDuel specific question, by all means, let us know, and we're happy to answer that. But I know we mostly focus on the DK slate. I'm just going to play. I don't care what the ownership is on Jack Flaherty, 65%. I think I'm lock buttoning him. I don't play a ton of lineups. I just no way I'm getting away from him, because it's not even like, well, I'm not going to play. Now you're going to play two of these guys that we're going to talk about in a second. We've had this conversation the other day. Usually it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. You can have the big picture, large field conversation. I'm sure we'll have at some point too. But for me, Flaherty just seems too good. Biggest K rate on his slate, lowest walk rate on his slate, lowest Sierra, lowest ERA, biggest swinging strike rate, like everything. He's just very, very clearly the best pitcher. Is that the way you see it, Keith? And what do you think as far as an overall screenshot of the slate?
Yeah, I think Chop absolutely nailed it. On FanDuel, it's at least a conversation where you have Wheeler and Burns available, but Wheeler and Burns are not the same strikeout pitcher as Flaherty is these days. They have been in their past, but they are not this season. They're both around 27%, where Flaherty's all the way up at 33%. So even on FanDuel, where you have those other two big aces, Flaherty's still a tier above them for me. I don't know if I would lock him in, because Wheeler and Burns can certainly still go out and strike out 10 in any matchup. Wheeler gets a great matchup against the Marlins, so I would sprinkle those guys in a little bit, but I would definitely lean heavy on Flaherty. On DraftKings, it's not even a conversation. He's head and shoulders above the field. I agree. He's a lock button for me on DraftKings as well. I don't feel good about any of the other pitchers on the slate. Flaherty is amazing in an amazing matchup. Like, why mess around with it? Let's just lock him in and let the field make mistakes at one of their pitcher spots.
You got to roster a second pitcher, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. How does that work? Because I have a thought process. I'm curious to hear yours first. I want to hear what is your plan?
So Rodon looks like the safest bet of the remaining arms, but he's going to be popular. So I would want to try to get away from that. Michaelis, I don't mind in a good matchup with Cincinnati, but he's catching ownership as well. So I would like to try to get different beyond those two arms. Berrios is probably the next most talented, but he gets a matchup against the Yankees. I'm out on that. Andrew Abbott has seen his strikeout rate just fall completely off. He's down around 20% this season after being an above-average strikeout pitcher last season. St. Louis has been hot. It's hot weather-wise in St. Louis, so tough spot for Abbott. Lively gets a tough matchup against Kansas City. I think I'm willing to consider some Lively at low ownership. I don't love the price tag. I don't love the upside. But I think there's a chance he can outscore Rodon and Michaelis. Waka is not somebody I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. And
Sorry.
Davis Daniel, I think, is a conversation worth having.
Yes. I think we're going to have that conversation. And I have a take on it. I'm not sure if it's good or not. I'm curious to bounce it off you guys as well. I threw it in the survey. Speaking of heat, I did check out the Weather Edge from Roth. We got the fire emoji for Philadelphia. Now it just means it's hot. What's interesting because 86 degrees, winds, it's kind of a crosswind at 9 miles per hour, 103 similar games, and just like completely neutral. Basically no difference as far as homers and runs, but it is 86 degrees. It is also hot in Baltimore, 89 in Baltimore, 21% bump in homers, 9% bump in runs, and a pretty monster sample, almost 175 games there. And St. Louis is hot as well. You did mention like it's a tough matchup versus St. Louis, and when it's a shorter slate, I kind of dig into more things. And they've been bad this year, St. Louis, but especially terrible against lefties, like bottom 5 in the league in like most meaningful categories. And it's like that's Goldie and Arenado. Those guys used to crush lefties, and they're so bad now. And I don't know if it's small sample stuff. I don't know. It's just like it's over for those guys. But I think you can get on both sides of it. I'm going to play some underpriced St. Louis guys just because, you got to play somebody, and we'll talk about that later. You mentioned Berrios, and I don't think I can play Berrios. For starters, this is a deal breaker right out the gate. Berrios has a lower K rate than Michaelis. Like that's it. If you have a lower strikeout rate than Michaelis, you're out. You're off the list. That's a deal breaker for me. It's a decimal point, but it's good. That's enough for me to. It's the lowest it's been in his career since his rookie season, where he was but he was 24, 23, 22, and now he's down, I think, to 17-ish. 17.5%. And that's an 8% swinging strike rate, which also is the lowest one in the slate. Michael says 6.5%. But still, it's not like you can sort of tell you this up the story. And he's facing the Yankees, who not just the power, but they're contact guys too. So I am not playing Jose Berrios. But again, I understand why one would, because you got to click on somebody. So sure, why not? I guess. Chop, jump in here. SP2, what are your thoughts?
Boy. So I put on the survey that, I'll lock in Flaherty, I'll build my lineup, and I'll see what I got left salary-wise, because I could really not sit here and, split hairs over these guys. I actually don't want to roster very many of them. SP2, I would say Carlos Rodon, interesting because Toronto is really just a one-man show right now, pretty much. And that's Vlad, who's kind of hot, and that's about it. And so I'm not scared of that one. I do not like the Berrios strikeout numbers. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind playing a pitcher against the Yankees right now, as opposed to like a month ago where I was like, no way, man. Now I think you could, because if you can pitch around Judge, you can get through that lineup. It's really shown a lot of weaknesses lately with the injuries and stuff. And so I'm kind of out on everybody. I'll see what salary I have. Davis Daniels is interesting in that there's just not much on this slate to go with. Like if this was tomorrow's slate and there was a lot of games, or what was it, Tuesday with a 12-gamer, I would probably stack against Davis Daniel, to be honest. But on a short one like this where there's no other pitching, this guy's not terrible. He's not like a high-ranking prospect. He's not like off the charts. He's not in that upper tier, but he's good enough. He's got, the low 90s, good command fastball, pretty good curveball, kind of raw with just 2 pitches right now. The other 2 are he's still developing them. He's got some things that make you think, all right, maybe I could pitch him on a little 4-game slate with no other good SP2s. Maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, is he still a prospect at 27, Chop? When do you lose the prospect status? You had a cup of coffee last
it's
year.
not necessarily prospect. You know what I'm saying is like when you think about guys who are minor league pitchers, you're either in that upper tier or you are part of everybody else. And he's not in that upper tier. So he's just part of everybody else. So yeah, he's not a high prospect or anything like that.
Yeah. What are we doing here, Keith? But Davis Daniel, he's cheap, right? He's cheap and he's throwing baseballs and he's professionally trained to do so. And he can help you get some bats that we want. And we're not really prioritizing SP2. I don't think. It doesn't sound like it. Nobody really enthused about it. So my strategy is I'm going to have a lot of Detroit, and the lineups where I'm not having Detroit, I'm going to have Daniels, Davis Daniel. That's sort of my strategy. Be over on both, lean into extremes. If Daniel's good, great. Detroit lineups, all right, oh well. But if he's bad, I got a bunch of Detroit. That is sort of my two-pronged attack. It's the old talking out of both sides of your mouth, but I think it makes sense. Hopefully you get the 95th percentile outcome or like the 5th percentile outcome, and hopefully it's not in the middle like last night with San Fran, where the Cubbies were both worthless, and that Bird song was worthless too. That's how it goes sometimes. That is my approach. What's your approach with Davis Daniel?
Yeah, very similar strategy. I will have a ton of Davis Daniel, but I will also have a ton of Detroit stacks as well, mini stacks in particular. There's a couple of really cheap options that I definitely like for Detroit, but I have interest in Davis Daniel. He's not a big-time prospect, like you mentioned. He's got a 5.30 ERA in AAA, but the underlying stuff does look a little bit better than that. His xFIP is down at 464, still not a great number. The strikeouts are above average, around 24%. The walks look pretty good at 7%. His BABIP in AAA, though, is 378, and his strand rate is 64.5%. So he's been very unlucky in AAA. And he had a cup of coffee, like you mentioned, last season, and had success in the majors last season. So there are some skills here from this pitcher. Like there's enough strikeout stuff that we can chase a little bit of upside, and it's 5,500. We don't need a ton of points here. We're not scared about many of the other SP2s beating us, really. So I'm fully on board with this Davis Daniel stuff. Once I saw the AAA numbers, like as unlucky as he has been, I'm willing to roll the dice here. It's Detroit. I'm not scared of Detroit. So if he can survive 5 innings and give me 15 points, I'm more than happy with that.
If I'm going to round it up by saying cup of coffee, it's like an espresso shot, 17 innings, right? So what are you going to get out of 17 innings? His K rate and his walk rate exactly the same, which is usually not a good sign. Again, it's a super small sample stuff, and I don't freak out about it, but 17.3% walks, 17.3% Ks. But again, that's just 12 innings. So, like, what are we really going to do with that? Let's go ahead and drop the second clue for Fleet Thursday. Second clue is point, hoops, and point. Now, Chop, now you got it. I think you're locked in now. Hoops and point. Yeah?
I'm going to hoops. Is Keith going to guess?
Oh, well, he can play along too. Yeah, for sure.
Let Keith guess first while I think about it.
All right. You're going to pass again.
No. Let's Keith take a guess, and I'm just going to – you threw me off. You came to me too fast.
I'll go to James Harden.
It is – well, I mean, even if it was, but it's not. But if it was, it's not James Harden.
All right.
But you're playing the game correctly, which is the important thing. Process versus result.
I'm going to say Chris Paul.
No. Speaking of Chris Paul, Chop, are you watching that clipped by chance?
No, I'm not. I've seen clips of clipped, and it looks awful.
I can't quite tell if it's terrible or not. I think it's terrible, but I'm still watching it. Yeah, Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy is Donald Sterling. It's it's somewhat cartoonish. It's Lawrence Fishburne's Doc Rivers. I think I'm gonna watch the whole thing and then decide if I liked it or not. Like you ever watch something like 6 hours? And like I don't know if I'm liking this or not, but I'm pot committed. I gotta finish it out. I'll get back to you, Chop. I'm sure you're gonna want the recommendation at some point or the lack of one. Several people in chat asked about Abbott. I don't have a strong Andrew Abbott take. I think you mentioned him in passing, Keith. Is he just sort of like gonna get the blanket? He's fine, I guess.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at on him. I'm not excited to roster him, but if you want to roster him, he's very much in play. The biggest concern for me is the drop in strikeout rate. Like he was an above average strikeout pitcher last year, and he has not been this season. You mentioned St. Louis's season long numbers against lefties, and they're pathetic, but they've been much better recently. Like, are Arenado and Goldschmidt really completely washed? I'm having a hard time buying that. We're almost halfway through the season now, and we still really haven't seen signs of life, but I still think there's something in there. Abbott would not be in my top 2 or 3 SP2 choices.
Checking out the live stream chat, seeing what kind of answers or submissions we are getting. Let's see. Thomas is saying Rajon Rondo. It's not Rondo. Flores Mark, Derek Rose. It is not Derek Rose. It's a good guess, though. It's not Kobe either. But yeah, everybody's playing the game correctly. Not John Stockton. It is not Alonzo Mourning. Not playing the game correctly. Was that before clue number 2? It might have been. Might have been before clue number 2. We'll have 3 more clues on layaway we'll talk about in a second. Anything else we should talk about as far as pitchers? I think it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty cut and dry. If there's any questions in chat, by all means. But Alex is guessing in the wrong chat. Carlos Arroyo? No. But Carlos Arroyo, I think, is most famous. Wasn't it Carlos Arroyo, the one who led the Puerto Rican team to beat America? Was that him, or I think it's somebody else? Or was that JJ Barea? You guys remember the USA basketball lost to, I think it was Puerto Rico? Could be wrong now. Does that sound correct to anybody? All right.
I have no recollection.
The United States lost to
I remember them losing, but I couldn't tell you who it was against.
Somebody in chat will clarify that. It is not me. I'm not. Basketball was never my sport. This was before Rudy Fernandez, I believe. This is a while back when the U.S. lost. I can't remember which team it was, but Kirkwood, of course, is guessing Brokeback Mountain, who did not play in the hoops or point guard. But all right, we shall move on. Let's go ahead and throw the third clue up there. Why not? Let's. This is where it might get interesting. Third clue, producer Steve, feel free to drop that. I don't remember which order I put it in, so I don't remember which word it was exactly. I think I know. Is it the 1? Yes, it is the 1. Now everybody's going to nail it. Now it's just like a race to the keyboard. Now everybody's going to be on top of that for sure. The clues are hoops, point, and the 1. All right, let's go ahead and give a summary. Let's give a summary as far as pitching. Chop, do you want to go first? Or do you want to pass? You want to pass?
First of all, Dean, the pitching. Literally, when you could take one guy out of the mix, Flaherty, take him out and put everybody else's stats side by side, and you couldn't even pick which pitchers. They all blend in the exact same. So for me, it's lock in on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you got your choice of 3 guys. Lock in one of them, the 3 big guys. On DraftKings, you have to play 2, and 2 of those guys get ripped off the board. I'm locking in Flaherty and just absolutely pull a name out of a hat for SP2. See who your hitters are, and try not to start a guy against your hitters, and take whatever's left on the board for you. I really think there's not much difference in any of them after Flaherty.
Yeah, it seems like a good night. Kirkwood saying we can really use. I don't know if you have access to his dew point model, but maybe we can use that for some tiebreakers tonight. Keith, what do you want to add as far as his pitching slate? And feel free if you don't mind touching on FanDuel, where FanDuel actually has a couple more competent pitchers.
Yeah, FanDuel, it's a little bit more difficult of a decision. I think Flaherty is a step above Wheeler and Burns. I would have Wheeler next over Burns just because of that matchup against Miami. But Flaherty has been a different tier of strikeout pitcher compared to Wheeler and Burns this season. Flaherty up around 33%, Wheeler and Burns down around 27%. You could probably include Rodon in that conversation as well. I wouldn't have very much of Rodon in 150 build, but I would have some probably. I don't think you need to mess around with anything other than those 4 on FanDuel. And I would be significantly invested in Flaherty. Just love the spot for him against the Angels, and I would be chasing that strikeout outside. On DraftKings, you just lock in Flaherty. He's head and shoulders above the rest of the field. He's a little bit too cheap at 9.8 in salary. And then after that, Chop nailed it. It's just a big jumbled mess of we don't know what to do with it. We don't feel good about any of these guys. For that reason, my favorite option is the cheapest option. Going all the way down to Davis Daniel, showed some skills in AAA, has a decent matchup against Detroit, and there just isn't any standout amongst the rest of these guys. Rodon is probably the safest against a Toronto team that doesn't hit for much power against lefties, but they don't strike out either. So I'm concerned about upside for Rodon. Lively in a matchup in Kansas City where it's hot. Abbott in a matchup against St. Louis where it's hot. Michaelis and Barrios just don't strike out enough guys. And Waka has a really difficult matchup against Cleveland. So for me, it's easily Flaherty ahead of the field. He's a lock button for me. I would have Rodon next, but I don't feel great about it. Then I'd go to Daniel. Those will be my 3 highest owned pitchers. Muted, Dean.
Man, I'm thrown off. I'm a little bit flustered because I just realized one of my favorite cheapies tonight, Noel for Cleveland, is not playing baseball this evening. That's a bummer. He's got like 50 homers or 45 homers in like his last 200 minor league baseball games. I'm going to strike out. Yeah, it's mute number 2. Bad job by me. Unfortunately, I'm gonna choke up the rest of the way. Make sure I got at least make some contact. But yeah, I guess Daniel Schneemann is playing for the Guardians today. He's batting second. Well, that's kind of a bummer. My cheapie that didn't really know how to pronounce John Kinski. I believe he homered yesterday too, but or not too long ago. Might have been his MLB debut. But all right, let's go ahead and talk stacks.
First of all, you didn't give us a chance to guess, Dean.
Oh, do you have a guess? Go ahead. Well, yeah, let's Keith guessed in our private chat because now we're to a point where you might actually get it, which is the problem.
Did you actually come up with this player?
Yeah, I did it before the show.
So it sounds easy to you. It sounds like to you, it's like, oh man, they're going to get it now because this gives it away. But to us, we're just looking at 3 vague ass clues, so it's not easy, Dean.
I'll have you know, producer Steve got it. I gave him all 5 clues at once.
Well, he had all 5 clues, and he could probably analyze.
You have all 5. It's easy.
Yeah,
okay.
There's still hundreds of options at this point.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Thousands.
You probably shouldn't get it right now.
Maybe millions.
You can eliminate guys.
But I'm going to say, just knowing you came up with this guy, I'm going to say LeBron.
Oh. Well, why? What does LeBron have to do with like point? Like you think he plays everything.
It's something you would throw in there as point, as in like he's a point guard and nobody else thinks of him that way. Something snarky you would throw in there.
You're overthinking it.
Okay. Well, that's what this is, Dean. I got overthinking. You gave me 3 clues and literally 1 billion people to choose from.
And then the 1 is right there too, and that has to mean something, right? Is there any basketball players you can think of that are named
LeBron the Chosen One or something? Didn't they call LeBron the Chosen One? I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Oh, he's got a lot of nicknames.
Yeah. I think it's going to open things up when we drop clue number 4 in a second. You know what? Let's go ahead and drop clue number 4. Did you have your guess was LeBron. And Keith had a really good guess in our private chat. I think several people guessed it in chat also. So they were thinking along the same lines. Yeah, Alex had the same guess too. He was guessing Penny. All right, clue number 4. Get by your keyboards, folks. Clue number 4 is Tyrone. Tyrone is clue number 4. All right. I just love seeing your faces on that.
Threw me off on that one for sure.
It'll all make sense. I promise you. It'll all make sense. If you have the correct answer, do guess in the Discord channel. And I want to see if anybody's got it. Not just yet. It's not Tyrone Jordan, which is a very funny guess. I don't know why. Don't know who that person is. But there you go. Yeah, Tyrone is our clue number 4. Let's go ahead and knock out tiers, folks. Tiers. So I put this together before the show last minute. You guys don't even know what it is. And this is to honor producer Steve and the Mets. The Mets are on this spectacular run, the power of Grimace. And we just went ahead and power ranked the McDonald's mascots. So tell me in chat, give me the best and worst McDonald's mascots you can think of. Feel free to I mean, it's pretty clear, I think, what's going to be number one, right? It's got to be one person, I think, especially recency bias. But you have a thought on this, Keith, or Chop? McDonald's mascots? Any takes? Who should be all the way up at the top, all the way down at the bottom?
I mean, Ronald is like, I think people are separate. He's either first or last, right?
Yes, it's a good take. A lot of people are divisive on clowns, just in general, I think. Yeah, that's a good take. Chop, you got anything here?
No clue, Dean. I try not to think about McDonald's mascots because you think about that. You think about McDonald's playgrounds, and
how they're. Have those?
Well, I don't even think they're there anymore because they're a breeding ground for germs and bacteria and pedophilia, and so they had to get rid of them, I think. So I don't know, Dean. Like, it's just a weird subject to broach here, man.
We do have a winner, by the way, in chat. So Choice binked it. I shouldn't say bink, but got it correct. We can play out the string. I won't tell you guys just yet because we have clue number 5 that might get you there, and some others that have not just seen the answer. But shout out to So Choice, producer Steve, producer Devin. Somebody's going to hook you up with a week free of RG Premium. Let's go ahead and show the board. So I wanted to branch out from McDonald's because there's so many mascots. We can say that for another day. There's so many character mascots you can get to, but I kept it to McDonald's. So a little tricky to get to, you had to get to 5, but Keith's intuition was correct. Ronald down at the bottom, Grimace at the top. Hamburglar is just like one of the greatest names of all time. It's brilliant. Whoever thought of that should have instantly got a. So Chop, I don't know if you know this. The Hamburglar is a thief, a burglar, if you will, who likes and steals hamburgers. Therefore, the Hamburglar, like when you got Hamburglar, let's go to lunch. Like, nailed it. Doesn't get any better than that. Brilliant. Mayor McCheese has like a burger on his head, and I guess he's mayor. And Mac Tonight was a Big Mac Tonight, like a play on Mac the Knife. But it's really all about showcasing Grimace and Ronald, and I love Hamburglar. I think that's a brilliant character name. But all right, are they still marketing these guys? I don't know. I've not seen McDonald's commercials in a while, but there you go. There is today's categories. All right, Chop, you get to go first. We're gonna do the fan. We'll do the fan games quickly. As far as where we're putting the stacks, Marlins at Philly, 8 total. Zach Wheeler versus Trevor Rogers. Marlins have a below 3 total. Philadelphia above 5 against Trevor Rogers. Massive favorites, -300 favorites. Chop, tell me where we're putting the Marlins and the Phillies. Again, this is just on the FanDuel slate.
So this is the FanDuel slate. Definitely the Marlins are definitely in the bottom. Don't want no piece of it. Taking on Zach Wheeler. Trevor Rogers, left-hander. Some left-handed bats in the Philly lineup, so that may possibly neutralize. So you're hoping the right-handers can get to him and get him out earlier. I'm going to put the Phillies in the Hamburglar category.
Phillies in the Hamburglar category. We go with that, Keith? Any issues?
Marlins, I definitely agree in the Ronald category. Philly, I think I would have up a Grimace. Rogers just isn't good. Schwarber and Harper are fine against lefties. So the lefty stuff doesn't bother me all that much. They've got Turner back in this lineup. Bohm has been good this season. Castellanos is starting to pick it up. Like, this is a really strong Philly offense. So I'd have them up top tonight.
I will agree with Keith. Let's go ahead and knock out Texas and Baltimore as well. 7.5 total. John Gray taking on Corbin Burns. Keith, let's talk about Baltimore and Texas. Where are you putting the Orioles and the Rangers?
Yeah, the Rangers, they're dealing with injuries. They're facing a really good pitcher. Don't have a ton of interest here. I'll go Mac tonight on the Rangers. Baltimore is one of the best offenses in baseball. John Gray is an average, maybe above average pitcher. Has been a little bit inconsistent here recently, but I'm definitely on the Baltimore side of this matchup. I will go Hamburglar for Baltimore.
Chop, any issues? We're moving Baltimore up to Hamburglar. Does that work for you?
That's it. That's the one. Burns will give up the occasional home run, so Texas won't be dead last. And Baltimore just has a even though they haven't shown much of it recently, they do have a really good offense. So definitely, and I'm not scared of John Gray at all.
By the way, just to run it back for a second, Keith, Michael wants to know on FanDuel, did we say Wheeler or Flaherty? Is it kind of 1 and 1A for you? Who do you have ahead of the other? Basically the same price.
I have Flaherty actually ahead, just because of the strikeout stuff. They're both in phenomenal matchups. Like that definitely closes the gap a little bit. But I still have Flaherty clearly ahead of Wheeler.
Several people in chat, by the way, said Kirkwood said he doesn't know who Mayor McCheese is. Maybe we can get a picture of Mayor McCheese and also a Mac Tonight, just so if people haven't seen.
I don't know either of those either.
Yeah, you've probably seen him before. You just don't. Mac Tonight's like a crescent moon. I think it was a Big Mac play, and again, Mac the Knife was like his theme song. Here we go. This is Mayor McCheese. It said you can see by the he confirms it in case you didn't know he was mayor. And let's see if we can get Mac Tonight as well. Chop, are you aware of these characters?
No, and I think it's quite alarming that you're so into them. Like, this is just weird.
I just thought that there's people in chat that don't know who they are. You've never seen that guy before, Mac Tonight?
99.9% of the world doesn't know who Mac Tonight. Look at this goofball on the screen. Come on, Dean. Nobody knows any of this.
We had to pad the list. We only had 3 main characters, and I'm like, well, if I stray from McDonald's, then all of a sudden it opens up the Noid and Spuds McKenzie, and there's a whole bunch of characters that there's just too many options, I suppose. The Tony the Tiger, if you're a big Tony guy. But I just figure we stick to McDonald's and save that for another day. But yeah, that looks like the old like Tonight Show logo with Jay Leno. Maybe that was intentional. I think that's what it was. Not really sure. But anyways, we shall move on. Next game. Oh, we're now on the DK slate. Here we go. 4 games left. Crunch time coming in about 17 minutes or so. You got Kristi, you got Will, you have Roth. No real weather issues. Let me just make sure that like nothing has changed. I don't think so. I didn't see anything earlier. Yeah, green, yellow in Kansas City. Nothing as far as precipitation. It's hot in St. Louis. It's hot in Baltimore. It's hot in Philly. Hot in Kansas City as well. 86 degrees in KC. Crosswind going from right to left. I don't recall who was going first, but I'm going to give it to Keith. Keith, the first game in the DK slate, of course, FanDuel has this game as well. Jose Barrios versus Carlos Rodon. Yankees, Blue Jays. Where are you at?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Yankees. It's a short slate. Obviously, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are fantastic. They're also really expensive. Barrios is an okay pitcher. The strikeouts are way down, but he still had success this season. And the full stack, I'm not as intrigued about. As Chop mentioned, they're dealing with several injuries here in the lineup, so it does fall off quicker than usual. Just grading Judge and Soto, they're going to be up near the top, but because they have those injuries and the stack falls off pretty sharply, I think I'm going right in the middle with them in the Mayor McCheese category. Toronto against Rodon, I really have hardly any interest. I'll go Mac Tonight on Toronto. They just don't have enough power against left-handed pitching. Vladdy's fine as a one-off, but I'm not interested in the stack.
A little surprised the Yankees are in the middle. Chop, what say you?
In my pre-show rankings, Dean, which I do not consult with anyone on, just do them myself, this is exactly where I have both these teams listed. Oh. So I'm definitely sticking with this one. Toronto, just really against Rodon, I don't think I want to stack them, And then the Yankees are a one-off. Play Judge or don't, Like anybody else is just kind of a spot filler, like your last position player. Oh, yeah, I can play this guy if I got this much salary. Otherwise, his Judge is a one-off. I don't want to stack.
I see several people in chat giving ranking suggestions going forward. Yeah, like just tweet me and let me know. I'll forget some of these, but I saw somebody suggest Simpsons characters. Probably do that with Taylor. Taylor seems to be a Simpsons fan. We talked about that last time. So maybe next time Taylor's on, we'll rank Simpsons characters for the people. By the way, clue number 5. We already paid it off, but you got to get the reps in.
What was number 4?
Clue number 4 was Tyrone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I forgot.
Did you ever guess with Tyrone?
I did not, but what's number 5? Because there's so many options, Dean. I don't know.
No, there's not. Like it's like Tyrone Hill and like 3 other Tyrones and another guy. Tyrone.
So
you don't know he's Tyrone.
His actual name is Tyrone.
Maybe now I'm kind of telling you, but yeah.
Now we're just like, See, I'm thinking I'm getting too deep into it.
You're
I'm thinking
overthinking it.
I was. What the hell, Dean? All right, what's clue number 5?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't flat out say his name if like that was his name, but it is his name. But people don't think of him as having this name. Clue number 5 is vertically challenged. So you might not know his real name is.
I saw Alex guess it in chat. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's it."
Yeah. Tyrone is the first name of Muggsy Bogues. Somebody asked what the 1 has to do with Muggsy Bogues. He wore jersey number 1. So there you go. And he was a point guard. Hoops.
Interesting.
Point guard. He wore number 1. Tyrone Muggsy Bogues. And he was like 5'3". I saw him pop up on my Twitter feed. And I'm like, oh, there we go. He was just fresh in my head for whatever reason. Okay. Let's talk about let's see. We're done with the Yankees in Toronto. You guys both agreed. Let's move on. Chop, Cincinnati, St. Louis. Michaelis versus Andrew Abbott. 7.5 total. It is expected to be hot. We talked about St. Louis kind of scuffling this year, especially versus lefties, but they are pretty cheap. And, maybe they're due to break out. And Michaelis is something we're not afraid of either. We do have the season debut. Of course, we all remember that Marte played last year for Cincinnati. Who could forget that? 100 of the most memorable bats I've ever seen. Chop, where do you have the Reds and the Cardinals?
Yeah. So real quick, answer Alex's question. He question mark no Soto against Berrios. Soto's fine, but am I going to play Soto and Judge and Flaherty? I don't know if I can do that. Like Soto's fine, and if you can get them both, that's a 2-man stack. But typically, I think you're going to decide between one of the two, Soto or Judge, and I'm always pretty much going to lean Judge right now with the way they're both playing. So that's why not a whole lot of interest in a vacuum. Soto's fantastic, but his salary is prohibitive when you're playing Judge also. So that's the answer to that question.
Davis Daniels, your friend, and that's everybody else is doing the same thing. Like if they want to get Soto and Judge, it's like, oh, Davis Daniel. Like those, it's a package deal.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily. Yeah, so like I'm not a chalk donkey, and I'm as they say, some people say, and and then some people go the other route. Man, I'm not gonna play no chalk. Watch this stupid ass lineup right here. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that either. I'm gonna hover around the middle somewhere. So, that won't be the path I go with what you just said. Cincinnati for me is in the Hamburglar category, and St. Louis is in the Mayor McCheese category. Why did I put that? Andrew Abbott. I mean, is there anything special about him? No, he strikes out guys at a very mid-level rate. A lot of fly balls, though, so that's why it probably bumps them up a little bit. Cincinnati, I think the main appeal to Cincinnati is the different things they can do on offense, and I don't think anybody's going to – I think the ownership on them as a stack is very low on this slate with Miles Mikolas, and I don't think it should be. So that bumps them up a little bit, not necessarily the raw projections, but that's why I got Cincy there.
Kirkwood, is he saying that Muggsy Bogues won a dunk contest in chat? I think he's thinking of Spud Webb. Maybe he's getting those two confused, or maybe it's a different conversation. But Muggsy never won a dunk contest, but Spud Webb did, of course, which is an incredible feat. All right. Any issues here, Keith, as far as St. Louis hanging out with Mayor McCheese, Cincinnati with the Hamburglar? No Candelario for Cincinnati today, for what it's worth.
So I originally had these two flipped. But I like Chop's point about Cincinnati being low owned against a semi-chalky Miles Mikolas. So I like Cincy up there in Hamburglar. I am buying into St. Louis being a better offense than their numbers show all season long. So I have St. Louis up in Hamburglar with Cincy as well.
You had to write up like a sneaky stack, It's always tricky, Keith, on these short slates, like sneaky stack. And I'm like, Squirrel already took Detroit, and I didn't want to double down on Detroit. And I don't even think you're like sneaky. We'll have that conversation. And I went with St. Louis because like you got to write somebody, and you're not going to write the Yankees. And I also because they're cheap, and Abbott will give up home runs. I think he's got the biggest home run per 9 on this slate, at least on the DK slate. He does. No, Rodon 1.71, Abbott 1.44. But you know what? That stretched back to last year. Any events, yeah. It sounds like you're going to have more St. Louis than the field, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. My apologies. Are you guys divided in all that conversation? Are you guys in line, or are you guys divided here? Oh, you said you had them flipped, right, Keith?
No, I have
Yeah.
both of them in Hamburglar, and Chop had St. Louis and Mayor McCheese.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move St. Louis and Hamburglar. I think they're useful tonight. I hope they're useful tonight. We shall move on. There's 2 more games. 10 minutes till crunch time comes in. You got Kristi and Will and Roth. Ben Lively taking on Michael Waka. 8.5 total. True coin flip. Both getting a 4.25 total. Oh, we'll have some time for questions in chat potentially before crunch time comes in. Keith, this is your board. The Guardians versus the Royals.
I've got the Guardians up top in Grimace. They're just a really good offense. They're hitting for much more power this season. Michael Waka doesn't miss any bats. He allows way too much hard contact. So really like the Guardians. They're priced high enough where I don't think their ownership is going to get completely out of control. But I'm willing to roster Davis Daniel as my second pitcher. So I won't have any trouble fitting in some full Cleveland stacks. Kansas City, I think Lively's at least an average pitcher. Kansas City's been struggling quite a bit here. I'm going to go Mayor McCheese with them. I could be persuaded to go up or down one with them, though. Weird spot for Kansas City tonight.
Do you have a take on this Schneemann character batting second? He's in a good spot.
I do not. I don't even know much about him, so let me look him up real quick.
10 homers this year, 13 homers and 17 stolen bases last season in 114 games. A little bit of stolen bases this year, 10 home runs. Not really at the prospect age, right? 27 and a half years old at this point. I'm not sure if he once was a coveted prospect, but yeah, obviously we haven't seen a ton of him in the majors. What does he have? 50 at-bats? 58 plate appearances in 18 games this season. I mean, he's like, right there batting second in the middle of a pretty good, stack. So J-Ram and Naylor, who's been awesome this year. Naylor's probably an all-star this year. So, and Quad's probably an all-star this year too. He's batting like 390. A lot of singles, but every once in a while he'll surprise you and bang one out.
He's hitting for a lot more power this season than he ever has. Quan.
I think didn't he change things up? I thought that was like a conscious effort, but also like the average is still outrageous. What is it, like 385 these days? It's something goofy. Still really good. Smaller sample, I guess, because he was hurt for a while. What is Quan batting? 377 with 7 homers, which is I don't know, that might be a career high, 7 home runs.
And he's been hurt for a long time too. So that's like he hasn't played that many games.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Cleveland looks pretty good. You got Cleveland all the way up top hanging out with Grimace. Your thoughts, Chop? Cleveland and KC hanging out with Mayor McCheese right in the middle.
Cleveland. Okay, so we're different on this one. I have Cleveland in the number 2 spot, Hamburglar, and but I could live with them in number 1 because I have KC in the first spot and up in Grimace, and I kind of don't. I'm thinking about it. I do want to attack Lively, like the strikeouts. He's not really going to blow you away with strikeouts. He'll walk a fair number of guys. A lot of things are on the table there for KC. They have been struggling. And so, yeah, maybe I adjust them there and bring them down a bit. And I could live with Cleveland at the number 2 spot. So I'm way different here, but I'll say this much, Dean. I talked about it a couple shows ago. Cleveland, they are hitting a lot more home runs this year. They're hitting a lot more home runs at home than they are on the road, though. And I told you about that win thing, and removing some of that signage, and it's helped them. They're hitting about a half a home run more at home than they are on the road. I don't know if that's going to matter tonight or whatever, but I got Cleveland at 2, but I could live with them at 1. KC, you could put them any 1, 2, or 3 to me. I could make a case for any of those. So do what you want to do, Dean.
It sounds like Keith has more conviction, so I will go with Keith. But yeah, we'll kind of keep them where they're at right now. And for what it's worth, KC, the ballpark feels like it's gotten better as a hitting ballpark of late too. But yeah, it is worth noting Cleveland, like you said, has become a better hitting ballpark as well. The moving of some signage, some advertisement stuff. All right, one more game, Chop. This one is yours. This is the only game we don't have lineups just yet. Detroit and the Angels. Davis Daniel taking on All the chalk donkeys. This is what you were saying before, Chop. If you're a chalk donkey, you're playing Jack Flaherty. I think everybody's playing Jack Flaherty. But yeah, Flaherty versus Daniel. Your thoughts as far as the Tigers and the Angels?
All right. So yeah, I'm not playing any Angels guys. All right. Like like I said, there's a fine line there between being a smart guy who goes against the grain and just burning some money with lineups. The Angels already aren't good against right-handed pitching, and now you're going to get a guy who's been just phenomenal this year. I don't know what I have to look up. It's got to be his best year by far, right? But he's not walking guys, he's striking guys. Everything about him is really good. So, if I'm going to play Flaherty, which I will in every lineup if I was doing a bunch of lineup, I certainly wouldn't play batters against him anyway, so it automatically takes the A's off the board for me. But just in general, I just don't like them. So they're all the way at the bottom. And Detroit, for me, man, they probably will be kind of chalky here. I got them in the second spot, the Hamburglar, but, they're not a good offense, so maybe that's terrible chalk, and maybe they deserve to be lower. But I got them in the Hamburglar.
What do you got, Keith?
Definitely agree with the Angels at the very bottom. You can make an argument Flaherty's been the best pitcher in baseball this season. I understand game theory. It's not generally how I play, even on a short slate, is to try to stack against the best pitcher. I agree with Chop. That's kind of burning money. So I will have no Angels. Detroit, I think they're very useful because they're so cheap if you're not willing to go down to Daniel. They certainly are in play. I have them a tier below in Mayor McCheese, but I wouldn't have any arguments if they were up there in Hamburglar.
All right, Detroit in Hamburglar, the Angels, Ronald. You were correct, by the way, Keith. If you look at Sierra, the entire league, qualified pitchers, Flaherty's got a 2.92 ERA, and he's not walking anybody. He's striking out a ton, 33% Ks, 4% walks. The Sierra is actually 2.4, which is just awesome. Best in the league. Do you want to tell me who's second, third, fourth, fifth? Tell me who else you think is on the board, top of your head. Somebody, one of those guys is pitching right this second. He's pitching right now.
Zach Wheeler.
No, pitching right now. No, on the slate we haven't talked about.
I don't even know who's playing
they're
right
not
now.
The slate. Chris Sale. Chris Sale's throwing baseballs right now.
Yeah. Glasnow was going to be my other guess.
He's third. Yeah, he's on the podium. Yeah. Let's see if the chat is throwing it out there too. Is the chat playing along? Alex and Mr. Richard both have Sale. Second best Sierra, Garrett Crochet. He's been so good this year. He's been awesome. Do we have enough likes? Hit that like button. Have not asked for it. Have not begged. Have not groveled. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Turn on the notifications. If you had notifications, you would have known that we were going live today at 4:45. We're going early. Only 44. That is egregious. Chop, I don't know what the minimum is for your BVP suggestion for the knockers. Again, I guess they got to be prompted. The people got to be prompted. Crunch time's knocking on the door. They'll be here shortly. I know you want to give away the knockers. I know you want to tell the people your BVP suggestion of the day. And I see a lot of options. I don't have access to your model, but I have another way of just seeing the actual list, which, that's obviously not even in the same stratosphere as your model. But, I'm curious where you're going to go with this. Is that enough likes to tell the people to let them in the door, or do we have to wait this out?
How much longer for crunch time?
Any minute. Yeah.
I guess I could give them away, Dean. It's Thursday. It's a small slate. I didn't expect a whole lot of viewership here on a 4-gamer, So
they're watching the draft.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh man, good idea. Let's see if
USA Soccer starts tonight as well. USA Soccer is 15 minutes or so.
Dean, did you see the USA smash whatever that country was the other day in the Copa?
Yeah. They're playing. I think they play Panama tonight.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, we got something to watch then. That's nice. Let's see. Okay, I'm not gonna I can't. This is low-hanging fruit, obviously. Aaron Judge being the BVP suggestion of the day, but it's a small slate. God, I mean, the numbers were the ones that popped. I have to give you what the machine says. The algorithm spits it out. There is a special like a little sub note there that Will Benson is also a solid play with the BVP numbers, but Aaron Judge will be the suggestion of the day. As far as knockers, Dean, yeah, I got a couple of knockers, Dean. And, these are cheap knockers. I don't know if you're familiar with cheap knockers. Sometimes cheap ones hang a little low, Dean. They hang a little low. So these guys are low in the batting order, and they're cheap. 5-8 combo here. Michael Massey, Hunter Renfroe. How you like them apples? Yeah.
I was trying to guess what team you're going with. I was trying to figure it out, like 5-8, 5-8. And I'm like, no, it's not going to be Jose Fermin and Goldie or an Arenado. But, maybe I would have got there. But, yeah, I like Massey and Renfroe. I think it's a good call. You have homers for the people, Keith? I know Crunch Time's coming here in just a second, but don't want to leave you out. We got anybody going yard?
Yeah, give me Josh Naylor and give me Nolan Arenado. He's way too cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's really cheap on DK too at 3.8. Yeah. What does he have FanDuel, like 2.7 or something like that?
2.6, yeah. 2.6.
Yeah. I know he's in the mid twos, which is pretty silly. Any player props? Do you have any player prop bets?
I bet Flaherty over 6.5 strikeouts last night, but that's been juiced up to like minus 150 on the over. I got it at like minus 125. So I'd like Flaherty to go over 6.5. Go ahead.
We got a question, Dean. We got a minute, don't we, Dean? We got a minute.
I guess. Crunch Time's in the green room. They're ready to come in.
But I got a question for Keith. He's the player prop guy. I don't know if he can answer this for me. What would be the big advantage of playing DK pick six over prize picks or underdogs, or vice versa? Is there one?
I don't believe that there is one. I haven't messed with DK pick six all that much. So maybe prize payout structure type of thing is the only angle I could think of. But
I just got it in Texas, and I'm trying to figure out
Will's got the answer. Let's not even. Will knows these streets well.
Let's do it.
I have a thought on it, but Will give a much better thought. Let's go ahead and bring in Crunch Time, and I'll answer your question. We got Will, we have Kristi, we have Roth. Crunch Time, let's go. Will hanging in the prop shop all day long. He can answer this question better than anybody. What's up, Will? What's up, Kristi? What's up, Roth? Will, feel free to give Chop his answer.
So, Chop, basically, you play pick six if you want it to feel like you're playing DFS. So there isn't a preset payout structure per se. So let's say, Chop, you played 6 plays and you got them all right, and the field got them all wrong. You're going to collect all the money out of the 6 for 6 section, and the field, everybody got, if they didn't, then they don't win the money. So, for instance, like during football, even during NBA this season, I put, 25 in during the finals. And typically what I did is I ran like different combinations of props that I liked. I put 25 in and got 2,500 back. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but that's because on that night, me and only a few others were able to hit 6 out of 6 props. And so football season, it gets real interesting. Like last year, there are some days I cleared 5K, 6K, like on one ticket. And I'm not talking about putting in like $500. I'm talking about $25, $40, no more than $50, clearing pretty good numbers because only a handful of us were able to get 6 props. Correct.
So you're incentivized to pick props that may not be popular amongst the field.
It's a game theory.
Yeah, that's the kicker. Just think about it like you're playing DFS, but you're picking props. And typically the field is going to try to take everything, minus 125 or better, minus 140. They're going to try to take stuff like that for guys that just look at that. And then, for those of us that don't just play that particular game, but try to, use a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Typically, we always end up on something. Most of the props I play are always, 5% or less owned, typically, because I'm not just using the odds. But and Santi saying pick six is way too much. But Santi, in its simplest form, just play the best props or whatever you think are the best props, and let the chips fall where they may.
Let me ask you this, Chief.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Pick six. So I'm kind of playing against these other guys. So what if I go in there at 10 in the morning, I look at their lines and I take a player and his line is whatever it is, over 1.5 base or whatever.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock, when other people are signing up last minute, Are those props going to change? Can they change? They have to stay the same, right?
Right. They stay the same, just like a salary.
Status.
Just like a salary. And Chop. So here's something else and I know this is a small slate, so you guys don't care. Something else, Chop, that's really great. Is you can change the prop. So let's say 5 o'clock in the morning, you get up, you say, I like these props. If you don't like them at 7 o'clock p.m., you can just go ahead and change all 6, just like you can edit a lineup. So that's another difference between underdog and prize picks, where once you put it in, that's it. There's no going back. So it's pretty cool.
By the way, worth mentioning, if you are in the DK Pick 6 streets, go ahead and download the Firefox extension if you have RG Premium. That'll help guide you for the best props. By the way, Will, I can tell on your face you're a little bit more excited than you typically are, and it's because you probably just found out that your Charlotte Hornets have just acquired Reggie Jackson and 3 second-round picks. So congratulations on that. Get excited.
That means absolutely nothing to me. The Hornets might not be good for another 10 years.
He's not the answer?
No. He's not the answer. I mean, and really, I'm sad for Reggie Jackson. He just left a contender to come to a pretender. So welcome aboard, Reggie. But it's not going to be a fun season. Maybe he will, maybe he won't.
Chop, Keith, myself, we're going to see ourselves out. You guys have the 4-gamer for DK, the 6-gamer for FanDuel. The FanDuel slate, I believe, starts at 6:20. And then I'm sure you guys are not going to stick around the 7:07, obviously. But otherwise, we shall yield. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It is crunch time to the sharpest minds in the biz. Shout out to Dean. I know he played a pitcher last night in the game that got rained out, as did most. And he did not throw me under the bus. So thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Let's talk about this slate first. Yeah,
I also played a pitcher that game. I took their under strikeouts based on your wisdom and acumen. And boy, did that work out great. They pulled, I think, the rain came in about right when you said, somewhere around the 5th inning. I said, great, Manai's not coming back. I've won this prop. Thank you. Roth, you're a genius.
I was talking about the other game that didn't work out so well in Boston, but thank you. I appreciate that. We were 1 for 2 last night.
I took unders in that game too, for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out for someone. There was one person out there who it worked out for. That makes me glad. Hey, the good news is that we're not going to have any weather issues tonight, so that's good because I really didn't want to get thrown right back into the fire on back-to-back nights. I don't think my ego could have handled it. So no weather issues. There's a low chance of a brief sprinkle in Kansas City. And even if it does rain in Kansas City, it ain't raining hard enough to stop the game. So there's no issues essentially weather-wise. And that allows us to just dive into this slate. We've got 25 minutes until lock. And I thought the slates are very different, right? 2 more games on DK than FanDuel. I thought maybe we separate it and we just go through and do FanDuel. And then we hit a hard pause whenever we're done. And then we go back and we do it again with DraftKings. Does that sound like the best plan of attack?
It's a great idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, great. We've got the time. So let's do it. Kristi, you want to start us off with FanDuel, with pitchers? But I didn't even say hi. Hey, Kristi, how are you?
I'm great. Good to be with both you guys today. And no, doing great. It's a great little slate for a small one. And like you said, both sites are a little bit different, but we do have some more choices here over on FanDuel. So yeah, definitely get started here with the pitching.
Okay,
Pitching looks a little bit different just because we have Zach Wheeler available to us, which we don't have on DraftKings tonight, and Jack Flaherty at the top. And they're both pitchers that I like. And if I'm choosing between the 2 on FanDuel tonight, I do like Zach Wheeler just a little bit better. Actually, Flaherty is $200 higher tonight on FanDuel. But Zach Wheeler, I think, is just in a really good spot here. So I like getting a lot of exposure to him against a great matchup against Miami. Flaherty has just been absolutely phenomenal this year. Just great pitcher, gets the Angels. So he's in a good spot as well. And then a guy that's going to be, I think, fairly popular more so on DraftKings tonight is Davis Daniel. And he's pitching his first start tonight. And so I think he's a guy, because he's so cheap, he really allows you, if you really want to stack the bats. And on FanDuel, I've been doing that a ton this year. And I do think you want to get some exposure because he's only 6,300. And then you can get Aaron Judge, Ellie De La Cruz, Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, because you've got Baltimore, you've got Philadelphia, you've got so many great stacks available tonight that you definitely want to have exposure in your pool. So I would say those are the 3 guys that I'm using the most. Corbin Burns, I think you can definitely throw him in there too. Texas hasn't been performing as well as we've expected. So I think you can throw Corbin Burns in there for GPPs. But yeah, Wheeler, Flaherty, and then getting some exposure to Davis Daniel for pitching for me.
Okay, very good. Chief, it's pretty interesting. We have a smaller slate here, but 3 pitchers at 10K or more on FanDuel. And then Kristi mentioned a cheap one as well. Where are you focusing your ammo, your fire? Where are you locking in?
On tomorrow's slate. Let's talk about tomorrow's slate. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I'm pretty much with Kristi here. There's not going to be a whole lot of reinventing the wheel. I think you need to play the best pitchers. They're going to give you the best chance to win, especially if, for some weird reason, the offenses fail in any capacity. And by failure, I don't mean like, they scored, 4 runs. I mean, 4 runs tonight could be okay, especially if you get the home runs from the right places. So I think that's something else to remember about small slates. There are way less events that are going to happen tonight than what would happen on a 12-game slate. So you need to try to get certain things right. And I think trying to get pitching right is the priority, in my opinion. And so I'm fine with Wheeler or Flaherty. I feel like the field keeps expecting Flaherty to fall off a cliff, and that's just not happening. It's not happening this season. He's got a 33% K rate. He barely walks anyone, and he's not in St. Louis, so people just need to forget about it. He's in Detroit now. He's pitching much better. I think part of it is him just getting past some of these injuries, and as a result, at 10-8, I'm perfectly fine with Flaherty, perfectly fine with Wheeler. If you told me you were only going to run those 2 pitches, I'd say have at it. Split them 50% down the middle and let the chips fall where they may. They're far and away, in my opinion, the 2 top pitchers on the slate. Burns definitely behind those guys, in my opinion, just because his strikeout stuff hasn't been there overall this season. And that's not me saying, don't play Mr. Daniels here, Davis Daniel. That's not me saying that. That's just me saying in terms of skills, I think Flaherty and Wheeler are clearing away the better 2. And if choosing, those would just be the 2 I would worry about. And I really wouldn't worry about anybody else. Like, I'm on FanDuel, I don't care about Rodon. I don't care about Abbott. I don't care about Mikolas. I really don't care about any of them. I'm with Kristi here. It's Davis Daniel or these top 2, and that's it.
Okay, very good. Well, let's flip it and talk about the bats and the stacks. And I suppose it depends on if you're spending up for pitcher or not. But Chief, what are your favorite stacks that you're targeting?
I really like the Yankees tonight. It looks like they're going to be throwing, I think, 5 lefties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Because Cabrera will be batting from the left side of the plate tonight. I think Berrios is going to be in some serious trouble here. He's been struggling with lefties this season. I know he's not on the slate. Aaron Nola's been struggling with lefties. Castillo, like some of these better pitchers, just been struggling with the platoon this season. Berrios fits that bill. And so I really like the Yankees along with everyone else. So let me make that clear. Like it's not going to be sneaky, okay? But, if there's one team that I think has a shot at, several home runs, I think it's the Yankees. They've got some cheaper guys down here at the bottom of the order, as also like Trent Grisham and Cabrera and Austin Wells at catch. Like, they've just got cheap guys. And so I think being able to get those guys in with Soto and Judge really helps. And so the Yankees are one of my top stacks in terms of overall. They didn't start out that high for me today. Originally, I thought I was really kind of going to be on the Royals for ownership, but man, these lefties, man, Barrett's is going to have problems today. Let me just say, or I anticipate he's going to have serious problems with all these lefties. Okay,
fair enough. Kristi, some of your favorite stacks?
Yep, I agree. I do like the Yankees a ton, and there are some cheap players in there, like Verdugo. You've got Ben Rice that's actually batting 5, so you've got some cheaper guys in there. But on the FanDuel site, that's a little bit different than on DraftKings. Baltimore is a stack that I have a ton of interest. I mean, I think on every slate, no matter what pitcher they're going against, you have to get exposure. They're just so good. They're leading the major leagues in ISO. They have all season long, continue to do so. But you want to get exposure to Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Ryan O'Hearn, Mountcastle, and they've got Heston Kjerstad batting 5 tonight. And so he's he's 2,400 on FanDuel. So like getting exposure to him, but Colton Cowser too is another guy that's relatively cheap. So I think 1 through 9, some of them have some stolen base upside, Mullins, Mateo. So I think getting any of those guys in your lineup for GPPs is really good. So I think Philly is going to be pretty chalky over on FanDuel just because they're in a great spot going up against the left-handed Trevor Rogers. So I want to get a lot of exposure to them. And I even like getting the left-handed bats and Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper in my lineup. But I do think Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, and Sosa are going to be pretty popular tonight. They're a little bit cheaper. I think Castellanos is a good core cash play, batting 5 in the Philadelphia lineup. But I would say kind of a sneakier stack that I like, and they're a team that I like getting exposure to a lot this year because of the stolen base upside, is Cincinnati. So definitely don't sleep on the Reds tonight. And actually, because that whole Reds and St. Louis game, very, very cheap on FanDuel, especially on the St. Louis side. You've got Nolan Arenado, who's way too cheap at 2,600. You've got Paul Goldschmidt at 2,700. Super cheap. You can get a lot of those pieces. You can stack that game and still get Zach Wheeler comfortably or Jack Flaherty in your lineup. So I really like that, getting exposure there. And those are probably my favorites. So Philadelphia, Baltimore, Yankees, and then that Cincinnati, St. Louis.
For some savings. Yeah.
Okay. Savings. Yep.
Very good. Let's go around the horn, and I'll have you each do one position. Usually you each do 2 positions, but since we're doing it for 2 slates, we'll just each do 1. But if there's a player that you love that someone left out, feel free to add that in. So, Kristi, I'll have you start with catcher first on FanDuel, and then Chief, you'll take it to second unless there's a catcher first that you want to add in.
Yeah, so catcher first based on FanDuel. I think Goldschmidt is going to be one of your more popular plays just because, again, he's so cheap at 2,700. Love him a ton. Vlad Guerrero, the Blue Jays lineup has struggled a good portion of the year, but they've been playing better now. And I do like Vlad tonight. He's only 3,200. I think he makes a ton of sense. I do like on the Baltimore side, I mentioned Adley Rutschman or Ryan O'Hearn does have first base eligibility as well. Those are guys I like. And then again, that Philadelphia game is going to be popular. So I like throwing Bryce Harper out there. He's expensive and he's going to be lower owned. We only have him at 8% ownership tonight, and he's 4K. So he's one of my favorite tournament plays at the position. Those are the guys that I'm kind of prioritizing the most at first base.
Okay, great. Chief, any thoughts at first? And if not, take me to second.
I will throw in Vinny P, second base. Here we go. I like Spencer Steer tonight. I like Jonathan India. I really like this Cincinnati side of the game. That's kind of, I guess, like I don't want to call him a secondary stack, but let me just say Miles Mikolas is not going to keep getting away with this. So I'm just putting that out there. At some point, the pounding is coming. He's not going to keep getting away with 60 pitches in 6 innings like that. That will not continue. So I like Cincinnati here quite a good bit tonight. Second base to me is, fairly weak. I'm okay with Andres Jimenez. I think he's going to be fine tonight. Everybody's got Colt Keith on the dots because he's just so cheap at 2,600 against Mr. Daniel. I'm okay with Nick Lofton. Second base is just more of a stack spot for me. I'll just plug in whoever I'm stacking and let it ride.
Okay, Kristi, any thoughts there? And if not, take me to third.
Yeah, I agree with him. I do find myself with a lot of Cincinnati. I think we're both on that same for a sneaky secondary stack with Spencer Steer, Jonathan India. So I think he's spot on there. Third base tonight, I would say I just think Nolan Arenado is just too cheap, and I really like him batting 5 in the Cards lineup. So I like him at third base. I do think Matt Vierling is going to be fairly popular. He and Colt Keith are going to be probably 2 cash game plays in that Detroit lineup tonight. Certainly like them, certainly fine plays. I mentioned Vlad Guerrero. You can play him at first or third base. He's one of my favorites, and he's got upside. He's been hitting some home runs here lately too, so I think he's a fantastic play. And then I'd also throw, if you're looking to save some money here and get a little bit different in the Philadelphia lineup there, you could throw a guy like Whit Merrifield if you needed to save some dollars there too. Alec Boehm in the Philadelphia game as well, and Sosa. So there's some good options on the Philadelphia side, but those are the guys I'm looking at the most there at third base.
Wonderful. Chief, any thoughts there? And if not, shortstop.
I will throw in Justin Turner, shortstop. To me, I think at shortstop, you've got some really good options here at the top. One of the guys from the prop shop, Deli, was just saying this season has been unlike any other season. You've kind of been spending up at shortstop, feels like every day.
Yeah.
I don't think that needs to change today. I mean, you got Henderson, you got De La Cruz, you got Witt. Just pick one, plug them in. I think they'll be fine. I'm pretty high on, Cincinnati today, like I said, versus Mikolas. If I absolutely just had to choose one, I'd probably take Ellie today. But I think you can play any of those guys. And then I know it's righty. I do like the lefties more against Barrios, but Volpe leading off at 3,200 has me very intrigued. There's a lot of run scoring potential for him if he gets on base with Judge and Soto and Verdugo, who may not hit a home run but might just poke him through. Like I think there's a lot of. I think Anthony Volpe could score 2 runs tonight for what it's worth. He just has to get on base, and I think they'll drive him home. So there you have it. Shortstop.
Okay. Kristi was nodding like vigorously through that whole. I feel like you agree.
I totally agree. I think Ellie De La Cruz is a fantastic play tonight. We only have him at 6% ownership. And I think because Trey Turner is going to carry so much ownership tonight and he's only 3,500, Ellie De La Cruz is perfect. And the stolen base upside there is immense. I think he's fantastic. I like that a ton. And then Gunnar Henderson. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if it wasn't for Judge, hitting bombs every other night, I mean, Henderson is too. He's right behind Judge for home runs, and he's just absolutely smashing. So I like Henderson, Turner, Ellie De La Cruz, but I think he's fantastic. And I like Chiefs' call on Volpe too in that Yankees lineup. I think he's going to go overlooked because there's so many good plays, and not to mention Bobby Witt on the Kansas City side. So I think there's a lot of great spend-up options here at shortstop for sure.
Okay, I want your thoughts on the outfield, but first, Dean dropping the news. He's our personal Woj here. Bronny going to the Lakers. I guess we all saw that coming, but I just can't believe it worked out that well. Kristi, are you excited? Is this dude going to make the team? Is he going to play? What's the deal?
I don't know. I'm not super high on Bronny, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think he just he was forced onto the team, and then his dad/coach is going to allot the minutes that he chooses. Chief, you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, so let's talk through this from a marketing standpoint. Okay, so I'm not saying Bronny can't play basketball because he's played basketball. He played at Sierra Canyon. He's fine, right? When I say fine, I'm saying he can play. Yeah, the real story here is despite how you feel about LeBron, this might end up being one of the coolest stories in sports history after it's all said and done. Literally, this man is about to be 40 years old. Yeah. He's still probably top 3. I'm going to give him top 5 to be respectful to the young guys. He's probably still a top 5 player in the NBA, and he gets to play with his son.
It's super cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is not about talent. This is about the story. Can you imagine if Ken Griffey Jr., his dad, got to play together 2 or 3 seasons? What that would be like? What if Archie Manning got to mentor Peyton Manning? And obviously it's a different time area, but what if Archie got to mentor Peyton Manning before he played? It's just a storyline. So
it is.
I think it's pretty neat. I think Bronny's going to play his butt off in summer league, and we'll see what happens.
I do think the Griffey comparison, Junior at that point was on his way to become like he made it on his own accord, right? I'm not sure that's if the Lakers didn't draft Bronny and if LeBron didn't exist,
right,
he wouldn't get drafted, right? So I don't know if I feel the same way, but I agree. In a vacuum, it's super cool. Like LeBron James is in the NBA playing with his kid in the NBA on the same team. It's awesome. It's super cool.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now that's aside, thank you, Dean, for the news. Kristi, let's dive into the outfield and then we'll flip it and we'll go to DK.
Absolutely. I think Aaron Judge is definitely at the top of my list. I mean, I think, I see Squirrel write him up every day. And I mean, I completely agree. I mean, the guy's been phenomenal. I mean, his numbers are just off the charts this year, hitting home runs pretty much every day, every other day. So you want to get exposure to Aaron Judge. Juan Soto right up there. I had mentioned, obviously, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, liking the Philadelphia side there. And then I also like quite a few of the Baltimore guys. So like Ryan O'Hearn, I think getting exposure to him. Mentioned Kierstead in the Baltimore lineup there. You can get exposure to him. And then Colton Cowser, I think is a sneaky play too. He's just 2,700 on FanDuel. So some of those guys are great. I do think the Detroit guys are going to carry a decent amount of ownership. Matt Vierling is only 2,700. So, and I think he's a good play. Mark Canha, some of those guys. So like getting exposure there too, but I have a lot of Aaron Judge tonight. And I think, just got to keep playing him until he shows any signs of slowing. He's just that good.
Yeah, that's fair. Chief, any other names you want to throw into the outfield?
Not really. I do want to say, and maybe this is just me, but I really like these lefties. If I'm choosing between Judge and Soto, I'm probably going Soto tonight. But that's not a knock on Aaron Judge by any stretch, folks. Like, you should be playing Aaron Judge. I just like Soto a little bit more today.
Okay, that's fair. I was just Googling Bryce James. Like, is LeBron going to get to play with both of his kids? Because I think Bryce
is Bryce
taller.
Like 2 years? Is Bryce 2 years behind?
I think he's a junior now. I think is what
right.
I'm
So
gathering.
About 2 years behind. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen. So this is the next big story,
baby.
LeBron ball. That's
what I was just about to say. I was just about to make that comparison. Yeah, but while actually in the NBA the whole time. Pretty cool.
Man,
it's pretty cool. Okay. Hey, with FanDuel out of the way, let's take everything that we learned and kind of just throw it out. And then we're going to start from scratch and we're going to redo it with DraftKings now, where we're losing 2 games. And that means we're losing pitchers and we're losing hitters. And I assume, Kristi, I didn't build a lineup here, but I assume it's a whole different slate over there in DK.
It is. Yeah. With just 4 games. Yeah. You're losing a couple games like Baltimore and Philadelphia and some of the pitchers and things like that. So yeah, it is. It does look a little bit different over there for sure.
Okay, well, let's let Chief lead this one off with pitcher talk. Chief, what do you have on DK when you need 2 pitchers and we lost 4 of them?
Oh, this is very simple. I am going to hit the lock button on Jack Flaherty, and then whoever else you decide to play, no problem. Have at it. That's the only pitcher I feel like I have to play. Anybody else is negotiable, and so yeah, that's legit my pitcher analysis. I'm just going to cycle through a couple of these other guys. Flaherty 100% though.
Okay, well, when you say these other guys, when you're like everyone else is negotiable, are there bad apples amongst the core? Or like, oh, I don't really want this dude, or you take all of them?
I actually think they're all kind of bad. So that's just the kind of slate we're in. Like,
yeah.
I don't like Carlos Rodon. He's a guy I haven't wanted to play all season. And I kept telling everybody, like, these bad starts were going to come. And then lo and behold, 2 starts in a row, he's getting shelled because everything says he was going to get shelled. Low swinging strike rate. Like, he's not the same strikeout guy. And so he's a guy that could get shelled. But he's probably better than Berrios. But guess what? Berrios is probably going to get shelled tonight also. Andrew Abbott, God, can he keep the ball in the strike zone? I mean, he's okay, but he's probably going to give up some runs. Miles Mikolas, the great Magic Mike, magician Mikolas, keeps getting away with these weird 50 pitch 6-inning games. That's not going to continue. Like Michael Wacha, great. He's still throwing baseballs, but Cleveland's a low strikeout team. Probably going to get to him. Ben Lively, welcome back from the KBO. He was fine over there. He's just probably slightly below average in the MLB. I'm expecting Kansas City to score some runs. Jack Flaherty is the guy. Probably is going to dominate the Angels, but I still think maybe you sprinkle in an Angel or two, and then Davis Daniel. He's the 5K guy that I think most people are just going to play because he's the 5K guy. And so, Roth, I know I got a lot more elaborate than my earlier statement, but this is why I'm like, just pick someone because outside of Flaherty, I don't trust anybody.
Okay. Well, Kristi, I want to ask you two questions. First, is there any viability to fading Flaherty? If that's the general consensus is there's one good dude and a bunch of scrubs, can you say he's going to have a bad game and 80% of the field is going to be on him and I'm off? And then second, do you have a more tiered look at the other guys or do you feel the same way where like, I close my eyes and pick one?
Yeah, I do think, it's a lot of times I do want to get a little bit different there, but I do think Flaherty's in such a good spot. And because of his price, I think I'd rather get different elsewhere. So I like, even on doing 20 lineups for me tonight on DK, I like locking him in and then just getting different elsewhere. So I'm in on him tonight just because of the position and because it's such a small slate too, just because the options are so limited that I'd rather get a little bit different with my bats, which I think you can do.
Okay. But do you feel like if he has an off night, you're done, right? Like,
yes, you are done. You are done. Yes, you are.
Yeah. And let me just say this, Rob. Let me just say this. If he has a down night, I'm perfectly fine with it. I say, hey, bad night, no problem. I wipe up. And so here's the thing, Rob. Here's what I'm trying to communicate about Flaherty. The whole industry or pockets of the industry keep expecting Flaherty to suddenly fall off of a cliff because last season he wasn't great. The season before that, bro, he's got a 33% K rate this season, a 4% walk rate. Like he's got a 45% ground ball rate. He's got a 14% swinging strike rate on the season, 13% to lefties, 14% to righties. His barrel rate is 5% on the season. Here's the deal. Everybody keeps expecting him to fall off a cliff. It's not happening, okay? Yeah. Now, don't confuse that with me saying that he doesn't give up runs. So that's the thing, right? I'm not saying he doesn't give up runs. I'm saying Flaherty's been really good this season, and everybody's like, he's due for a down game. He's had one or two bad games. He's had one, a couple at the beginning, a couple here in the middle. Like, if you just want to pull up his game log, go pull it up. Most games, he's anywhere from 18 fantasy points to 25 fantasy points with upside for 30. I can assure you, if Jack Flaherty goes for 30 fantasy points tonight and you've decided, Flaherty's due to have a bad game, guess what? You can do the same thing I'm going to do if he has that type of game. You just go ahead and close your laptop and come on back tomorrow. Just like if he has a bad game, that's what I'm going to do, right? Like you live with the decisions you make. So
and I suppose saying, I guess that goes double if you don't feel the other pitchers have upside, right? If you don't think two other guys
4 game slate, that's all I'm
put together a decent start, then that makes sense. Kristi, will you give me your analysis on those remaining pitchers because we do need to on DK as much as we don't want it.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So I do think it is going to be popular to have Flaherty. And then I think, people are going to be looking to pay down most likely for Davis Daniel, just because he's 5,500 and he allows you to get a lot of the bats in there too. So I think, I do like that combination too. And then I like just mixing it up with the stacks just because he allows you to do so much. So I have a lot of Flaherty. I have a lot of Davis Daniel.
Can I ask what your Daniel percentage is before you move on? You had 100% Flaherty.
Yep.
How much?
Yep. I've got 50% of Davis Daniel tonight, and then kind of mixing it up with the rest, just depending on how the stacks break out. But I just think he's I've been a pay down at pitcher all year long, especially on FanDuel. And then when you get someone this cheap on DK, I just like to take and run with it. So.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Let's go. I suppose we should talk about stacks. I'm guessing it's whichever of the teams that we liked on FanDuel that still exist on DK are the ones that we like. But Kristi, I'll let you kind of walk me through it.
Yeah. So for stacks over here, we talked a lot about and I do think the Yankees, I like them. And there's a lot of cheaper pieces in there tonight. Just, we talked about a couple of those pieces on the Yankees side. For instance, you've got Ben Rice, that's just really, really cheap. You've got Austin Wells, who's batting 7, so he's a cheap catcher position there. So I like those guys. Alex Verdugo. But then I know Chief and I have talked a ton about Cincinnati. I'm way overweight on Cincinnati on DraftKings tonight. That's one of the stands that I'm taking. Love the stolen base upside. And, I think with the Yankees being a little bit more popular, I'm way over the field on Cincinnati and just looking and paying up for guys like Ellie De La Cruz and India and some of those guys.
Sure. Chief, any thoughts that are different from what you had on DK or what Kristi said?
I think not different. I guess let's just call it an add, because I feel the same way. I'll just add in that I do like the Royals probably more than most. And once again, everybody keeps telling me, Chief, the Royals are cold. Like, they're not hitting anything. I know, but at some point they will. And I can't tell you when, but I just keep taking them in the good spots. And on the day they score 10 runs, I win. That's it.
You're sitting pretty. Before we go around the horn here on DK, I do want to give a quick shout out to, I believe it was Marshall White, who said, and I'm scrolling up just a little bit, he won the 60K micro last night on DK.
Nice.
Thanks for the help. That's fantastic. Congratulations,
Marshall.
Yeah. And he said Boston game ruined all my lineups as well. So apparently it didn't ruin them all, man.
That's so
what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love to see that. Love to see people who are hanging out here taking down some big tournaments. Okay, let's go around the horn on DK. Again, we'll do it one person, one position, because there's no need to, dive any deeper than that on a 4-game slate. Chief, what do you got for me at the catcher position on DK?
Listen, it's getting real easy on catcher. You got Austin Wells, who I really like. Tyler Stevenson, who I really like. If you want to spend up, you can play Contreras. Those are my main guys. Yeah, Salvador Perez, if you want to play him, those are my main guys. And I think you can find combinations of any of those catchers with the pitching we have. Especially if you're playing Flaherty and Daniel, you can do pretty much anything you want. So I think any of those guys are just fine.
Excellent. Kristi?
I agree. Austin Wells and Tyler Stevenson are the 2 highest owned catchers that I have. And I like seeing that Stevenson, we have him at just, 4% ownership. I think that's great. And getting him in those Cincinnati stacks, he's kind of a core play. But Austin Wells has been great too. And batting 7 tonight, think he's a great play too. I'd also even throw Bo Naylor in there. We haven't talked much about Cleveland, but he's at a good price point too. So he'd be the last one I'd throw in there.
Wonderful. How about first base, Kristi?
Yeah, so for first base, Paul Goldschmidt, he's still cheap on this site too. So is Vlad Guerrero. So those are 2 guys I really like. Looking to save Ben Rice. I like him batting 5 in that Yankees lineup tonight. I think he's fantastic. And then you can also play him out in the outfield, but Spencer Steer is going to get you way different and at very low ownership. So he's a guy that I have quite a bit of tonight too.
Okay. We had somebody in the chat, I think it might have been Eric, who said Ben White is going to win the MVP of the World Series, which is quite a call, because first you have to figure out which team is going to be in the World Series, and then we're picking Ben White. If that happens, that man deserves $1 million. So note it, lock it in. He made the call.
He can earn it right now. Just go on the sports book, pick the Yankees to win the World Series, and take Ben White as MVP if they offer it. And that'll probably be close to his $1 million right there.
Yeah, right. There it is. Eric Johnson. Ben Rice is going to be the World Series MVP. That is, and he's not kidding. He was like, I really like this guy. I think he's great. That's what's going to happen. That is a bold call, and I love it. All right, let's get some money on that one. Chief, what do you have at second, unless you want to add to first?
Nope. Great was first. Well, no, my boy Vinny P. I'm gonna mention him again, even though I mentioned him on FanDuel. All right, second base. Give me Jonathan India. I'm actually shocked India has no dots today. This has to be very exciting.
I know.
Because we get these dots, and man, these experts are super smart, and I love all these experts, but what that also tells the field is, hey, you need to play this guy. And no dots on Jonathan India tonight. Fantastic. Jonathan India, 3,500. I'm just going to mention him because, I mean, it's slim pickings at second base tonight. Everybody's going to play Colt Keith. He's getting Jimenez and Colt Keith are getting the most ownership. But, boy, do I like India here at 3,500.
Yeah. Okay. Kristi, your thoughts there or at third?
I love it when Chief and we're in sync tonight. I couldn't agree more, Chief, because India, and he's only $700 more than Colt Keith. And he's a guy that's a little bit streaky too. He had a very slow start to the season, but if you look back at what he's done, he's had some just great at-bats and some home runs here in the last week, looking so good. So
I think he's on an 11-game hit streak tonight. I think if he hits tonight, I think it's 11 games in a row.
Fantastic.
Don't quote. I'm pretty sure I'm right here. We're starting close.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. He's been so good, and absolutely. And the fact that we just have him at 12% ownership is great.
And real quick, if I can, I do think your point about the dots is actually really important because I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this, but when I build lineups, if I see that dude with all the dots, like I'm locking him in. Even in baseball, a sport with such high variability, when every expert is like, "This is the dude." Yeah. I'm playing that dude. I'm not playing India because I'm playing the guy who every expert says is a good play. And maybe that even inflates the ownership more than what we have projected there. So a good note. Kristi, what do you like at third?
Yeah, third base. A few guys that I like. I'm going to throw Nolan Arenado in there again. I really, really like him tonight. I know he hasn't been great this year, but again, I like both sides of the St. Louis-Cincinnati game. So he's someone that I want to make sure I have in there. I think Justin Turner too. We talked about Vlad Guerrero a little bit. Justin Turner is cheap in a good spot there. If you're looking to pay up, Jose Ramirez is a great play, and it looks like he's going to carry most of the ownership tonight. But I like actually paying down here a little bit with the Justin Turner, Nolan Arenado. Those are probably the guys that I have the most exposure to on third base. It's a pretty small pool tonight for me.
Okay, Chief, any thoughts there? And if not, kick it to short.
Love it. Love third base. At shortstop, once again, we're in this similar situation where we've got Bobby Witt and Ellie. Witt is getting, hear me closely, almost double the ownership of Ellie. Not quite. I mean, Ellie's at 11.6. Witt is at 19.9. But on today's slate, that's like double, which means it probably will be. Give me all the Ellie that you can handle. Still going to go back to Anthony Volpe. A little bit more expensive on DraftKings in terms of salary distribution. But I don't care. I really like the Yankees tonight against Berrios. And I guess sneakily, IKF batting second, and we're getting him for 3,400. I like him also.
Okay, wonderful. Kristi, your thoughts there? And if not, take me to the outfield.
Yep, I kind of the same as it was on FanDuel too, but yes, absolutely love Ellie De La Cruz, Bobby Witt, Bichette if you're saving money, Mason Wynn, and Anthony Volpe are kind of round out my shortstop. So agree with Chief there. Outfield, definitely like Aaron Judge. He's one of my top plays that I have. He's expensive, but he's worth it. Juan Soto is going to be a little bit more popular. Certainly like him. Don't forget about, Alex Verdugo in your Yankees lineups. I like him as well. And he's a little bit cheaper at 4,200. So like him quite a bit. I think we talked about some of those Detroit guys. If you're not playing the pitcher, you're going to get some exposure to the Riley Greens of the world, the Matt Vierling, some of those guys, and I think they're good play. Wenzel Perez. So I think those are good guys to get in there too. And then, of course, the guys that I really like, the Cincinnati guys, Nick Martini, Spencer Steer, and Will Benson, who always gets a little overlooked because he's, batting down in the order. He does tend to strike out a lot, but he also steals a lot of bases. So I like him, and Martini and Steer are three guys that you'll see pretty low ownership on, but guys I'm definitely overweight on tonight.
Good stuff, Kristi. Chief, any names that you want to add?
Not really. George Springer at 3,600. I like him also, but I think that would probably be my only add. Well, let me say this: if you want to get really different, play some Steven Kwan at 5,500. Like that's probably way overpriced. But I mean, if a couple of these guys from Cleveland are going to get there, he probably is in the mix.
Yeah, he's going to get on base. We know that he's going to get on base. What does he do? He gets on base. Guys, let's give the people some home run picks. I'm going to start. I'm going to take the first one. Give me Ben Rice, the aforementioned future World Series MVP, going yard tonight. Give me Ben Rice as my bomb call. Chief, what do you got for me?
In that same game, give me Juan Soto, 281 ISO, 435 WOBA, 16.9% K rate. I mean, Barrios, 211 ISO. I'm telling you, these lefties, boy, if they can see the ball well tonight, I like them a ton. Also, in that same game, I do like Justin Turner against Carlos Rodon. He's been hitting the ball well. And then in the Cleveland game, I keep mentioning it, but I do like Vinny P tonight to go yard.
Okay, great. Kristi, you got a few names for me?
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to say just at the top, and I mean, this is no secret. This is not a surprise, but Gunnar Henderson.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Judge.
I like Gunnar Henderson. But I'm also going to throw Nolan Arenado. He hasn't been as hot this year. I'm going to throw him in there. And then just kind of a really low tier one. I think Nick Martini goes yard tonight in that Cincinnati game. So really like him, and he's a cheap play in that Cincinnati offense. So those are the three I like.
Wonderful. Good stuff, y'all. Hey, if you thought, wow, this content is fantastic, we should know it's free. And all that we ask is that you hit that thumbs up for us on YouTube so that we get more eyeballs and, it does the things with the magical algorithm. So hit the like and subscribe, and make sure you sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Yes, we have expert analysis. We do have that. But we also have all the best tools in the biz. And when you are an RG Premium member, you get access to all of those tools. We got any sports you can want, whatever option, whatever pay level you're looking for, 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price, $469.99. That's a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. And if you want to just test run, just check things out, $19.99 for a 3-day pass. That just seems wrong. I feel like we've mispriced that, and it should be more expensive than $19.99 for a 3-day pass. So highly recommend, if you haven't joined RG Premium, scope it out, check it out. 3-day pass. You can learn everything that we have, and then you can decide, wow, this is awesome. I want to do more of this. We're going to take just a couple of questions, and then we're going to bounce on out of here. But first and foremost, from Dub K, who is getting chunnel caked tonight? Kristi, who's getting chunnel caked tonight? Which we think means beat up really bad, but we're not entirely sure what this word means.
Okay. Who's going to get beat up really bad?
Chunnel cake. Do you have to say chunnel cake?
Chunnel caked. Who's going to get chunnel cake tonight? Let's go with, I am going to go with Andrew Abbott.
Andrew Abbott. Okay. Chief, you got the guy going against the Yankees, I imagine, as your guy getting chunnel cake tonight. Oh, you're muted, but I feel like you agree.
No, I caught myself. Myself.
Okay.
Jose Barrios definitely gets buried tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Peter says this is very offensive. It might be. We have no idea what that word means. We don't think it's a real word. I Googled it. It didn't show up anywhere. I think it's a made up word. If it's offensive, that's my bad. I encouraged it because I think it's funny.
Funny. I did too.
All right. Let's see. We got just a couple more questions, and then we'll bounce on out of here. I'm going to make food for the kids. Ooh, I'm defrosting shrimp, and I left them out. That's not great. I need to get on that.
Looks like Roth's going to be chunnel caked. Leave it out.
Yeah, right. Going to have to give those shrimp the smell test after this. It's been a little long. FanDuel single entry, Chief, Cleveland with the bottom of the lineup or a Cleveland with a bottom of the lineup Yankees mini, or Cincy with a Philly mini?
Cincy with the Philly mini, if I got to choose between those two.
Great. Kristi, a question for you in FanDuel single entry, 2v2, Fry and De La Cruz or Naylor and Volpe? I feel like we like all those dudes.
Yeah, I would say the first one with De La Cruz.
Okay. John says, can batters get chunnel caked? If you get the golden sombrero, if you go 3 or 4 Ks, you could argue you've been channel caked. Ernie says, and this is a fun question, Kristi, the best batter for DK Cash, knowing that this isn't basketball where you're going to play a dude who's definitely putting up points. Anybody could go 0 for here. But when you think of, price and productivity, who is the guy that you feel like you should have on DK Cash?
I'm going to say tonight for DK Cash, I'm actually going to go a pitcher. I think Davis Daniel, getting him in there is
Nice.
good cash tonight.
Very cool. Okay, I like it. You took that and flipped it on us. Okay. Hey, you know what? We've answered all the questions. DP says, hey, good show tonight, guys and ladies. Yes, great info. I'll see y'all at the top. That's what we like to hear. We will see y'all at the top as well. You will see Kristi and Chief there. So for Chief, we got one more question. Thoughts on Mountcastle? Chief, this is a you thing. Thoughts on Mountcastle over 1.5 total bases at plus 155. Mountcastle over 1.5 bases plus 1.
That game already started. Hope you got it in. I don't mind that at all. But that game just locked like 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Sounds very good. With that, we're going to get out of here. So for Chief, for Kristi, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been channel caked.